What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Gotham Season 4, Episode 11, Queen Takes Night. So, finally back into the TV show, kind of. Still got a lot to get caught up on, but yeah, first of these TV shows I've got to get caught up on is, in fact, the mid-season finale for Gotham. It's been a very interesting season so far, and ultimately, this whole sort of build-up has been a long time coming. So we see, to start off this episode, we see that Sophia and Penguin seem like they're about to really start fighting. And the opening, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes, it just feels like this whole, I don't even know what to call it. It almost feels like it's wrapping up the story for us. And so the fact that it wrapped up so quickly, I'm like, no, there's no way. But we see Penguin actually calls in Carmine Falcone to come deal with his daughter. So of course he comes in and he's like, this isn't the Falcone way. You're not doing it the same way I would. The fact that you slept with Jim Gordon means that you're not doing it my way. Typical kind of, I'd say, mafia style speak. Just the whole you're not doing it the way that's honorable type thing. And so of course he comes to stop her. She of course is like all upset and just like, I can't believe you don't believe in me. Like, we can take this town and all that stuff that she's been preaching since the beginning of the season. But ultimately, what this leads to is he's about to take her home, and then all of a sudden she goes to a rose bush, and just the way she did it, I'm just like, okay, this is way too well framed up. What's going on? And so she pricks her finger and goes to lick the blood, and as she does, Jim sees a truck rolling up. This guy opens up the door and just starts bullets, just letting them fly. Takes out both of Carmine's men and Carmine himself. And then Sophia ends up getting shot as well. And I'm just like, okay, did she plan that? It just, the way that it was set up, it just seemed way too obvious to me that she planned this. And ultimately we find out she did. She wanted him dead and out of the way because he didn't believe in her. And that was pretty much her giving him a chance to sort of back her play. But when he didn't, she just decided, you know what? He's gone. He's out of the picture. Even though it's her own father, that's how insane she is. And in fact, one of the things that kind of got me thinking about this as well is one of the last things that Carmine says to Jim before he goes to leave is, you have no idea what you've just brought to your city. So it's almost like he's sort of warning him, look, you don't even realize just how twisted she is. Like, you thought I was bad. No, she is just off the rails crazy. So yeah, ultimately it was pretty easy to figure out. And that would be my only complaint about this, is that they could have made it seem a lot more of like a whodunit type of thing, made it a little bit more of a mystery. But the way they set it up and all of the little, there were way too many hints for us to be confused on who this could possibly be. It was so obvious it was part of her plan from the very beginning. So that would be my only complaint about that. But as far as the fact that Carmine Falcone is now dead, that's pretty shocking. We also see that, based off of this, Jim sort of realizes that he's got to put a stop to Penguin. Harvey comes into the church at Carmine's funeral and says, look, you've got to get Penguin to do something so despicable that you have the ability to arrest him. And so, they're going through this whole thing. Jim is arresting all of Penguin's guys and stuff, but he's just like, but we still don't have anything on Penguin himself, but we're trying to draw him out into, doing something that is worthy of arresting him, that we can definitely prove in court. And then Sophia is just like, well, he did kill this one kid, and Jim's just like, well, you don't have any proof. She's like, well, I just got a phone call from somebody, and that's when it hit me, because had been acting weird for most of this episode, and that's when it hit me that he was about to turn on Penguin. And sure enough, Jim shows up at Penguin's place, says, I'm about to arrest you. Penguin's like, for what? And Jim's just like, for killing a kid. Sophia told me all about it. And Penguin's just like, there's no proof. Zaz can tell you where he dropped him off, right, Zaz? And Zaz says, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You totally blew up that kid. So, yeah. Clearly we see that Zaz has been turned over to Sophia's side. I will be interested to see why he did that, because I get the fact, he does say it near the end. He says that, he's just a cobblepot. You are a Falcone. But if it was just for family, that's the only reason why, because she's a Falcone and he's very loyal to them, I'd be a little bit disappointed with that, just because, she also has proven that she's not really honorable to the Falcone name. I don't know. I realize Zaz didn't always agree with what Carmine did either, but he was very loyal to Carmine. And if Carmine didn't want Sophia to be in charge, you would think that Zaz would honor that decision, especially in his death, and especially if he finds out that she had something to do with it. So maybe that might be something later on. Jim maybe reveals to Zaz that Sophia was the one responsible, and maybe that's when he turns on her again. But I don't know. It just felt kind of weird. Honestly, there have been a few characters where their rushed explanation for why all of a sudden they're turning has been a little bit strange. Speaking of that, I do want to talk about Harvey because, like I said, he's the one that brings up to Jim, look, you've got to arrest Penguin for something. But ultimately, at the end, we see he comes into the GCPD and then he leaves as Jim is walking in. He's like, I left something for you on your desk. He's like, they believe in you, don't let them down. Right after Jim has just lied about what happened and lied about the fact that Sophia is behind everything. But yeah, so Jim goes in and there's his badge and his gun, and I don't really feel this. It just all of a sudden at the beginning of the season, it's like, oh no, Harvey has been working for Penguin and he's a bad guy now and he hates Jim, and I'm like, where did this come from? I don't know. It felt like such a rushed transition from him to be such a, not necessarily a good cop, but a cop that was honorable. He did some things that he wasn't really proud of, but you could tell he did it because it was kind of like his life was in danger. He didn't really have much of a choice. This season, he had a choice. He had a choice to say no to Penguin, and then he just didn't. And now he hates Jim for it. And I'm like, where did this come from? I get the fact that he hates Jim for taking his job, but he hated Jim even before that. So I don't understand where this all came from. How Harvey turned from, oh, Jim, I got your back, we're partners through everything, and now all of a sudden he's just like, Jim, I hate you, I hate your guts, you're a despicable cop, and I hate you. It's just like, why? So I'm still not really on board with that. And I guess on that note, to sort of, switch off the main story for a second, I feel the same way about Bruce. I mean, I thought they were going to do something interesting with it. I kind of felt like they had this whole thing going where he was turning into sort of the party boy and realizing that he had to sort of take on this persona of being a party boy around other people. But no, he is actually this Bruce now. And on top of that, he just hates Alfred out of nowhere. I get the fact that Alfred's been trying to kind of get through to him, but this whole transition from a Bruce that just killed Ra's al Ghul and has been dealing with the emotions of that and, dealing with that hatred inside, and now all of a sudden he's just like, now I hate everybody, and I don't care anymore. I don't care about anything anymore. And it's just like, where did this Bruce come from? He just popped up out of nowhere. He's just like, oh yeah, I hate everything. I just want to party for the rest of my life, and screw you, Alfred. You suck. I realize you've helped me through a lot of things, and you care about me a lot, but I hate you now. So, peace out. Get out of my life forever. Where did this come from? So I don't know. I'm really, really not on board with this whole Bruce thing. Yeah, I wish they. I don't mind seeing him go to a dark place like this, but I wish it wasn't such a screw you, Alfred type of thing that he's doing, because that's ultimately what it feels like. It doesn't feel like he's just, oh, this is Bruce dealing with the hardship. No, it feels like Bruce has just completely lost his mind and just like, I screw everything my parents want, screw you, Alfred, and everything you're trying to do for me. I don't care anymore. If they had done this a couple seasons ago when he was still technically a kid, I could see that, but now he's a young man. I think he's supposed to be in his early 20s in the show now. I don't think David Mazouz is actually in his early 20s. I think he's still 18 or 19. But yeah, he's supposed to be in his early 20s and actually supposed to be a young man now, and he's acting like a bratty kid. And I'm just like, he's not a kid anymore, so why are we doing this? So yeah, I'm really not on board with this whole Bruce storyline. Hopefully there's something redeeming about it in the second half of the season. But for right now, it just feels like it's been building up to this moment where ultimately, of course, he's going to turn against Alfred because that's just what they've written into his character this season. It didn't feel natural. So, but back onto the main story. So a couple other things to talk about is, first, I do want to touch on Cobblepot real quick at the end because it was just sort of a little blip at the end, but it was a very interesting blip because we see Cobblepot is now in Arkham Asylum and he's lost his mind. He's in his jail cell. Oh, I'll kill you. I'll kill her, and then I'll kill Jim. Just freaking out. And all of a sudden you hear this voice like, hey, buddy, I get it. You want out of here, so do I. And I'm just like, is he coming back? Sure enough, Cobblepot's just like, what are you going to do down there? You're not able to help me at all. And all of a sudden Jerome just pops around the corner. He's like, hey, I just want to be a friend. I'm just like, so excited to have him back. It's definitely one of the things I'm looking forward to the most second half of the season. It's very interesting because like everything to do with the main story right now, I'm loving. It's the side stories that are just killing me. You know, the Harvey side story, the Bruce side story. I hate those right now. But the main story stuff is just, I'm loving it. Now this is involved. Now Jerome's back and he's going to talk to Cobblepot and try to, work with him to get out of Arkham. Oh, it's going to be exciting. But on Cobblepot, though, aside from this last scene, I will say that it was a very, very strong performance from him for a lot of this episode. Just kind of like, it felt like a return to the very first season where I remember watching the first season and it was okay. There were some weird things. There were some really weird episodes. But they really didn't take full advantage of the insanity of Gotham. They just kind of went for a more realistic outlook. Now they're definitely just whatever. We've got guys coming back from the dead. We've got magic. We've got all this stuff. We got another guy who he's like hundreds of years old. So they're just kind of going balls to the wall, like whatever. We're crazy. We're going to accept it now. First season was a lot more realistic, but one of the things that did stand out was Robin Lord Taylor as the Penguin. He definitely just made a name for being just such a good actor in the first season. It really gripped me with a lot of the scenes he had. This episode definitely felt like kind of a callback. The sort of the cleverness of Penguin, and just that side of him is not something that we've seen very often through the past few seasons. He's been very, I'd say confident, but it's more like overconfidence. The power that he's had has gone to his head, and he feels like he can't be beaten. But we saw this season he was vulnerable again. He was back to that old Penguin that we used to know, and so seeing this side of him whenever he walks in with Carmine, it just reminded me of that first season where Fish was finding out that somebody was going behind her back to Carmine, and then finding out that it was Penguin was just kind of like, holy crap. And just the look on his face was just kind of this Weasley little like, oh, I've got you now. I went to this guy. I went to the big man. Now he's going to help me. I don't know. It felt like such a callback for me. I loved this episode with Penguin. So, yeah, just really strong performance again from him. And he's done well. He's definitely done well with Penguin's character overall. But as I said, it's kind of changed over the last couple seasons. And it hasn't really been the same Penguin that I remember from the very first season. So this was a nice little episode to sort of bring that side back out in him. But yeah, let's talk about Jim a little bit, because this is where things get a little bit dicey for me. Because I do love what they're doing with Jim's character. The fact that he goes through this first part of the episode and really does pretty much take the war to Cobblepot and stop this gang war by making sure that the police come out on top. Really fighting back against his corruption to say, no, the GCPD can do their job very well. And so ultimately they do manage to stop Penguin. They manage to put him in jail. Everybody's thinking, yeah, go Jim, go Jim. But then ultimately, Sophia, we see she's about to start up the gangs again. She's about to get them back under the Falcone control. She's got Barbara, Tabby, and Selena all there to help her. And so you're kind of like, okay, well, is Jim going to find out about this? Of course he does. He knows what Sophia is trying to do with his whole taking the war to Penguin and stuff. So he goes in to say, look, just don't do this. I'm willing to let you stay, but if you do this, I will have to come after you too. And then ultimately comes to realize that this has all been part of her plan. Not just, like I said, the whole thing about killing her dad was obvious to me. The whole part about Zaz turning against Penguin, that part was obvious to me. But the show did have one plot twist that was not, I wasn't expecting it. Because all of a sudden, in walks the pig. And I'm just like, holy crap, she even planned that. She's insane. I knew she was insane. We all knew she was insane. Just some of the scenes that she's had this season, you could tell she's got to be a very dastardly and just devilish person, the way that she set up some of the stuff with Cobblepot. But to actually know now that she was the one that brought Professor Pig to the city and just released him on the city is just kind of like, holy crap. You're crazy. You are actually crazy. So yeah, it was a very surprising plot twist. Ultimately, though, it was kind of surprising because it didn't really lead anywhere. I was kind of expecting sort of a showdown between Jim and Pig later on down the season, but Sophia just kills him. So yeah, Pig's gone now, and I'm a little disappointed because I'm going to miss, kind of similar to Jerome, his insane acting and antics. It was a lot of fun, just the whole "oh, I'm coming to kill you," all that stuff. He was really good at just playing up the character, and so now that he's gone, I'm kind of sad. But Sophia ends up giving Jim a choice and saying, either you can turn me in and then I'll tell everybody about what happened with Mario, or you can just be a part of the GCPD and I'll run the gangs. And ultimately, Jim chooses to lie about this and say he's killed the pig, and Sophia's fine. So I'm still, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence on this one, because on the one hand I do understand why she's got him over a barrel, because if she does reveal what actually happened with Mario, the fact that Jim killed him, there will be a little bit of a stir at the GCPD saying, wait, what? Our captain murdered somebody? I mean, really? So I do understand that, but at the same time, I also look at it and say, well, he can easily explain that away, though. He can say how he was infected with the Tetch virus and he was going to kill Lee, and I feel like you could explain that. But no, he just decides not to. He decides not to try to fight for their trust. He just says, you know what, I can't fight this right now. And so, I don't know, I'm still on the fence. I'm still trying to decide whether or not I like this decision, or whether I think it's just kind of one of those moments where it feels like it should be easily explained away, but the show says no, it's not going to be easily explained away. Because I don't know, there are a lot of moments like that in TV shows where you think, oh, should be easily explained away. This guy, just hearkening back to Supergirl again because it's the best explanation I can think of. This guy is talking to Supergirl and saying, oh yeah, that one guy, he killed himself, right? When he's the one that shot him. And I'm just like, wait, did the police actually think it was a suicide when he was standing a good 5 feet away and shot him and then took the gun with him, and the police actually say that was a suicide? Like, really? This should be easily explained. No, it wasn't a suicide. The gun wasn't there. There's no gunshot residue on his hands. There's no burn wound. There's no burn wound near his head where he should have shot himself. So easily the police should have looked at it and said, it's not a suicide, we need to find the killer. But the show just wants us to believe, oh no, they ruled it a suicide. And I can't buy that. In the same situation like this, I don't know if I can buy whether this is an easy explanation or not. I feel like it should just be, look, he was infected with the Tetch virus. And honestly, I thought a lot of people already knew that he had killed Mario to save Lee. But maybe I was wrong. But I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm on the fence. I'm still curious to see where this is going to go, whether he is going to explain it later, whether or not this is just leading somewhere else. But yeah, the last thing I guess to talk about is Tabby and Butch and Nigma. So Nigma has one scene where the Riddler's talking to him in the mirror and just we had so much fun and all this stuff, and then he goes away. It's a very short scene, not really sure why they threw it in there. I feel like they could have sort of skipped that and made time for other stuff and then brought that back at the beginning of next season or something, or next half of the season, but whatever the case, yeah, that pops back up. And then Tabby kidnaps Butch and then tries to make him remember who he is. He's not Solomon Grundy, he's Butch Gilzine and all this stuff, which actually he's not even that, he's Cyrus Gold, but whatever. But ultimately, she decides to beat the crap out of him over and over and over again, but he still can't remember, that is, until she leaves, and all of a sudden he wakes up, he's like, what happened to me? So, yeah, it's just kind of thrown in there. He's back to being his old self again. I don't know where this is going. I don't know if he's still got the same abilities that he has, or if now that he's back to normal, if that means he's also human again. Whatever the case, I'm curious to see a little bit, not as interested as the main story, but it is more interesting than, I guess, Butch's story, right, or Bruce's story right now. So, but yeah, that's the mid-season finale of Gotham. I'm definitely looking forward to the second half of the season, so hopefully you guys are too. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, or your thoughts on this episode. Let me know what we can talk about and discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Gotham reviews. I'll see you guys next half of the season. Peace out.